Hello, 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 and welcome to another Sunday of Chit Chat Podcast. And we are still celebrating the Women's History Month observation. And I'm so excited about our ladies that we have on today. So check in, check in, check in. This is our last Sunday of March. I think this whole month flew by. It was my birthday month. The whole month on flew by. I'm like, oh my goodness, this whole month has flown by. So check in. We are still celebrating Women's History Month, and we have our last panel of guests on today. I'm excited about the phenomenal women that will be joining me today on today's panel. So I need you guys checking in, like, and share today's episode. Look, I'm excited because it's one thing to start your business and have a business and to do some things. But it's another thing to be doing something that you know that God has given you a God-given talent or purpose. You know, when you know that you are doing something that God has gifted you with, that's different than you just doing something that you like doing. And there's such a big difference in that. And so I think today when we hear the interviews from these ladies that's on the panel today, you're going to see the difference. You're going to hear the difference from people who are doing something that God has gifted them with the gifts and talents to be able to do, as opposed to just doing something they like doing. It's not just a hobby of theirs. It's not something that they just doing just to be doing. It's something God has gifted them the talents and abilities to be able to do, and they're blessing. God has blessed their hands to be able to do it, and they're blessing others with those gifts. So, welcome to Chit Chat Podcast. If this is your first time checking in with us, I am your host, Shadonna Thomas. I go by Shan. I am so excited about this month because we've been celebrating women. We've had a phenomenal host of women this whole month, celebrating and highlighting women who are doing phenomenal things. And I wanted to do modern day women because this month we're celebrating how we are empowering, inspiring, motivating, and supporting one another. Because guess what? The people who done it before us have already paved the way for us, and it is our time. It's our time to do the work now. So we're doing the work now, and we're paving the way for those who are coming behind us. And so I'm excited about the ladies that we have presented to you this month. I'm excited about the ladies that we're presenting to you today. And without further ado, I'm going to get started because I know this whole hour go by so fast, and I don't want to take up a whole lot of time talking and not giving you guys the opportunity to get to know these ladies and hear about the things that they so passionate love doing. So today we're talking about the gifts, the God-given gifts and talents that these women entrepreneurs have. We're going to have conversation with the women who are part of this podcast panel today. I want to ask you something if you're a part of our listening audience, and I want you to really let this sit and resonate with you. What gift has God given you that you're ready to use? Are you laying dormant on a gift that you know that God has given you that you're not using? I'm not talking about for next year. I'm not talking about anything or everything, waiting on something to be perfect before you use it. I'm talking about like right now. What are you using right now that you feel like that God has gifted you with and you're ready to use? This episode is for you. You need to be tuned in right now, listening today to these phenomenal women who are not just talking about purpose, they're walking in it. So they're building businesses, they're raising families, they're healing, they're growing, they're trusting God every step of the way as they're doing their things. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chit Chat Podcast. Welcome to this phenomenal episode, and welcome to listening to the gifted women that I'm sure that you guys gonna have the privilege of getting to know. When you realize that you have a gift that's not just a hobby, that is something that you've been purposed and gifted with, how are you going to use that? So because these women know that answer, we're going to talk to them about that today. So first, I want to introduce one of our phenomenal guests. and I had the privilege of meeting her a couple just recently through my VA. I became a client of hers actually, and phenomenal. When I tell you phenomenal woman, talented, her work speaks for herself. But because we were aligned through God, because her God given talent, God aligned us. I knew that for a fact. But she's a cosmetologist. Her name is Tamika Taylor. She's a licensed cosmetologist specializing in non-surgical hair replacement and provide custom and medical wigs. She's founded New Image RX, a hair replacement center based in Chester, Virginia, and created EMEC Organics. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tamika, on pronouncing that, an all natural hair care line. After her own experience with cancer and hair loss, Tamika made it her mission to help women regain their confidence through custom wigs, scalp care, and education. She now empowers women to better understand their hair, care for their scalp, and restore their confidence. I am so excited to help introduce to you guys Miss Tamika Taylor. Hi,
Yeah.
Tamika.
Hey, Shane, how are you?
I am so good. Look, you can add more onto that quick bio, but I am so excited. Look, if you guys had the privilege of seeing my birthday hair, that was my birthday hair that was custom designed by Miss Tamika Taylor.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
and I loved it. The color and everything was phenomenal. But y'all know I change my hair all the time. but but I am so glad that we were definitely, I was definitely positioned to, you know, be provided with your service because it was, I mean, it was a no brainer for me. I picked her right off the list, didn't even know, but I just felt like I was aligned to her. Like
Yes, ma'am.
no questions asked. I just picked her. She was like, did anybody tell you, referred you? No, I just picked you off the list.
Okay.
So, but tell us, Tamika, like how, more about how you. I know that you said it because of your personal story of having hair loss and what you went through. This is what you want to give back and give to other people because of your experience. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you, Shane, for having me. I appreciate you. Well, it started with, like I said, a cancer diagnosis. In December, I will have been a licensed cosmetologist, and so I was diagnosed with cancer 2 times. And the first time that I was diagnosed with cancer, which was 2014, I decided that not only was I diagnosed with cancer, but also 2 of my aunts were diagnosed with cancer. And so instead of me feeling sorry for myself, I took that as a sign from God that I needed to be doing something else. I could be helping someone else. And so at the time I started making wigs, I was just donating them, not even thinking that it was going to be what it is today, but I was just donating to cancer centers. I would, any of my clients that knew someone that was going through cancer and losing their hair, because at the time the mission was to only help women who were losing their hair to the cancer treatments, because most of them were new to wig wearing. So they had no idea anything about wig wearing. And so that was the goal initially. The mission was to only help those. But once you open up that can, then here comes every other person that sees that person or maybe going through hair loss, because now the word has gotten out. Tamika provides beautiful cranial prosthesis. Okay. And so it really started from there. That's where it originated from. And it just grew you know. When the very first wig I made, it took me 8 hours. I tell people it took me 8 hours. Now it takes me about 15 minutes. But the very first wig I made took me 8 hours. And I said, thank God that I didn't quit. Because the average person would be like, it takes too long to do this. I don't want to do it anymore. But I knew my purpose was much bigger. And I'm glad that, I am able now, hundreds and hundreds. I can't even, if I had to give a number, I wouldn't even know where to start, but hundreds of women that I've helped to feel much better about themselves through providing them with custom cranial prosthesis or custom units.
Awesome. So not only for patients with you know,
Right.
cancer, but alopecia,
Hmm.
anybody that's going through some kind of
Right.
dermatologist prognosis,
Right.
you're able to treat those, and you're also educating. So you're not just treating them and
Right.
saying, hey, throw this on your head, to solve all problems, but you're also
Right.
educating as well. So
Right.
that's important
Right.
because people think that's a solve all problem. Like, I just throw this on my head and
Right.
that solves the problem. But a lot of us also want to know, we want treatments, because I've had those injections. I don't like the injections. So
Right. Right.
I don't want the injections, continual injections
Right.
or whatever. Who wants to get those
Right.
injections yet? And so,
Right.
people want to get educated on what it
Right.
takes for you to know how to treat, and treat damage hair, to treat, the things that, that has been scarred or whatever the case may be, so that way you can know what you can do to, not, recreate the problems once you
Right.
are starting the healing process, but also
Right.
educate others, and then refer people. Hey, I have a friend,
Right.
because that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Because
Right.
I know a lot of veterans deal with this, and a lot of times we
Right.
don't. We didn't know that that was a open um, thing for us for a long time. The VA just started to say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we're providing this service to you guys for cranial
Mm-hmm.
prosthesis, because a lot of women now, due to hormones and different, issues,
Mm-hmm.
cancer, different issues, are dealing with hair loss at a increasing rate. And we need to make sure that we're dealing with this, issue. And so they're providing this
Right.
service to us. And so a lot of veteran
Right.
women who don't know, I'm telling them, I'm telling everybody. And
Right.
so, so I'm making sure, because if they're like me, they spend a lot of money on their hair. And so,
Right.
and
Right.
because of that, it's afforded opportunity for you to get something that helps with the
Right.
cost of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, well,
Mm-hmm.
thank
Yeah.
you. We're gonna get started. I'm gonna bring in our other guest. Let me introduce our other guest here, who is also a hairstylist. I'm excited about her as well. And I met her on, I think it was on a TikTok TikTok opening. I can't remember, but it was a something about it. It was something related to God or prayer or something. It God
Mm-hmm.
always brings stuff together. When I tell you, God will do it.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
he always brings people, like-minded people, together. But her name is
Yes.
Adrian. She's a native of Jessup, Georgia, and currently resides in Brunswick, Georgia, where she has lived for 25 years. She has one beautiful daughter that she loves dearly. Adria is an entrepreneur of the Designer Original Salon. She's a best-selling author of The Hunt and a speaker as well. Adria wears many hats. However, the greatest is being a child of God and a mother. Hi, Adrian. Welcome to the podcast. Is she on? Okay. Hi.
Hello. Hello, Shan. How are you?
I am good, and it's so excited to have you. I was like, what was it that we met on? Was it a TikTok? I can't
Yeah,
remember. It was, look,
TikTok.
I said, either way, however we met, God aligned that thing too. Because I'm
Yes,
telling
indeed.
you, God aligned Tamika, God aligned us, and we was on there. I think you was doing some kind of prayer or something. I don't know. I ended up jumping on there, and then we end up connecting that kind of way. But God always knows. I'm telling you. But
Yes, he does.
I'm excited to have you. Then she ended up being a Georgia peach, and I was like, oh, I'm from Georgia too, but I'm living in Virginia. So it was one of those things, and so excited to have you on, Adrian. And I know that you wear many hats, and one of the things that Adrian do not like to highlight is she is a minister, a woman of God. And so and one of those important things that I like to highlight about that is because a lot of times women, especially women of the cloth, women who I call the glory carriers, oftentimes are so you know, we don't see that light often because we're looking at the men of God all the time, but it's often the women who are carrying the weight of a lot of that in ministry. And we're going to talk about that later when we get into the interview process, but I don't want you to like minimize that, because I know you wear a lot of hats, as the business owner, the author, the mother, and all those other things. But one of the most important roles you play as a woman of God, as a minister, is, being a disciple, saving the souls, that's very important. And that's how we connected as well. And so I wanted that to be known as well, because that's very important, and especially because it's Palm Sunday. And this is Holy Week as well. So we want to make sure we highlight that. But I'm excited about having both of you ladies. So we're going to get started with the interview process. So, ladies, I know that, we're talking about God-given talents. How did you determine what you so passionately do? Because both of you guys do hair, and I know Tamika, you've been doing hair for over 20 years. Adrian, I know you said you started doing hair as a teenager, and started doing it professionally, over 15 years ago. So let's talk about that. When did you realize this ain't just a hobby for me? This is something God has gifted me with, that, because a lot of times when you're sitting people in your chair and you're doing hair and you're styling people, that's ministry. You're taught, you're counseling people, people that sit in your chair, they're talking to you guys, they're telling you, sometimes you are that open, they're opening the book and letting you guys hear, what's on their heart, what's on their minds. So how did you guys realize this is not just a hobby? This is something I'm passionate about. This is what God has gifted me with. And how did you relate that to God? Use me how you see fit. So whichever one you want to.
So for me, I going back to the cancer diagnosis, and I think I shared with Adrian. So at the beginning of 2020, God had already had this ball rolling. Okay, so no matter how I felt about it, God already had this already rolling for me. And I see all the little pieces coming together. So for me, at the top of 2020, I started telling my sister, like, I don't feel as passionate about being behind a chair. I'm more passionate about helping women with hair loss. But I don't know how to transition from out of what I know to do to going into what I know God has for me to do, because that's a transition, because it may not look the same, right? It may be a little scary because it takes me out of what I'm comfortable doing. I have a book full of clients, but now I'm venturing over to something where I'm not that familiar or comfortable with, but I know I'm equipped to do it, right? So fast forward, the COVID hits, salons close, but the wig portion of my business just grew to the point where when salons opened, I didn't have to open my salon back up, because I was working from home, making more money being at home, right? But then I said, you know what? There's a lot of women with hair loss, and I really was doing it when I was already servicing those women, but just doing it in a different capacity behind the chair. So I said, well, no, let me move myself from out of that and let me start with actually servicing those women with hair loss for whatever the reason may be, whether it's due to something medically you're going through, due to maybe alopecia, whatever the case scenario. And so I opened my hair replacement center in 2021. Right. So that was truly outside of what I was comfortable with, because now this is a different role and I'm servicing a whole different set of people. And as far as me knowing that was where I was supposed to be, it was the reaction from clients. It's how I feel about how they feel when you provide them with something they come in thinking one thing, and I'm like, no, we're going to do this. This is what's going to happen. And so providing that service where you can see when you turn them around in that mirror and you see their facial expression, where it goes from they came in thinking they was hopeless, and here I am with somebody else that just going to do me any kind of way, to when that they actually I knew right then, regardless, to me, being passionate about something is being able to do things when you're not getting paid for it, but you know that you are actually being of service to other people. I feel like that's the biggest thing. And that's me turning people around with hair loss, and the expression, the joy that they feel. You can feel it. Some about the hairstyles we can feel. I tell them, like, I know what you're thinking before you think it. It's something about it. I can't explain it. But if you've been behind the chair, you know, like you can feel the tension just leaving their body. And so that's where I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because of, just the reaction that I'm getting, how happy I feel going home. I look forward to getting up every day, helping these women. And I go into over explain. I'd be like, well, da, 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 da. And I'm like, okay, Tamika, slow down, because I get excited, And so, I mean, that's how, I feel about it at this point. I just feel like this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I shared that with Adrian. I feel like right now where I am and what I'm doing is exactly what it is I'm supposed to be doing. Even the educational piece of it, getting up every day. I have a product line, and that's to help women just get back to the basics of hair care. Those that don't have hair loss, and to try to educate them on, the basics, keeping your scalp clean, keeping your hair clean, having a consistent routine, understanding what products do in that routine, just getting up every day. Every day is not a day of sales, but every day I look forward to getting up, educating people, because I'm excited about helping people with hair loss.
I like that, because
Yes.
it's not even about opportunity, it's about mindset.
Right. Yeah.
So I like that. So Adrian, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to speak on that as well.
Yes. I was elated to meet Tamika backstage. Great story. Great story. I started out about 12 years old. And it came from a place of, you guys, my sisters needed to freshen up my hair. It was 7 of us in the house, 4 girls. My sisters needed to freshen my hair. And I was like, I'm tired of all the jerking. I'll do it myself. So I started doing my little ponytails, as I went on, and as I matured and got into middle school, I just started noticing, like, okay, I want to style hair. And I went to the beauty supplies and looked in books and seen styles, and I would just mimic them on my head. And it was at that moment that I was like, I think this is my thing. I think this is my happy niche. And I started doing my mom's hair, my sister's hair, some of my peers in church, and then it fled over to my high school. So it was just one of those things that I just knew, this is what I want to do. It's my happy place. It's what I love. It gives me the opportunity to meet people. And I've always been like this mother hen for whatever reason. So it allowed people to talk to me, and I was able to talk to them. And that's the commonality. Most of the times, hairstylists, Tamika can tell you, we turn into your psychiatrist, your psychologist, your snotty, your tissue to wipe your face with. We are those people. And you can trust us with your stuff. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful, for the humble beginning. But that's why I started. I started at 12.
Yeah.
I've been legal and licensed now for 12 years. So I'm grateful for that. But it started a long time ago as a little girl. Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Well, let me ask both of you guys this, because I know you've been doing it for so long. Was there any fear that you guys had to overcome, or is there anything that you had to stop believing about yourself for you to know, I'm good at what I'm doing. I'm capable of doing what I'm doing.
Well, I think that part of it just comes from, first of all, stop looking at everybody else, stay in your own lane. But I just feel like, for me, even with now going into educating on my hair care line, it is forcing me to study, to learn more on my craft. And with that, with time, you're going to get better, and you're going to feel more comfortable and more confident in what you're doing. So I don't think any of us, I think that's the problem. We get comfortable where we are and kind of hesitant about moving forward. And so it keeps us still sometimes. But part of growing is being uncomfortable and learning. And once you get into that routine of learning and growing, it'll set aside your apprehensions about certain things that you're doing or trying to do. So for me, that was one of the biggest things for me. Being a lot more confident, but that comes from time and education and just moving forward, and then just knowing that you are moving, you are in alignment with where you should be as far as your assignment goes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I my platform for Chit Chat podcast, the Chick stands for Create Her Inner Courage. So
Mm.
that's what this
Mm-hmm.
platform is about. There's something God has gifted all of
Mm-hmm.
us with, and all it takes
Mm-hmm.
for us, a platform of women, is to pull together for all of us
Mm-hmm.
to kind of inspire each other to pull whatever that gift
Yep.
is inside of
Mhm.
us, to have that
Yep.
courage to pull it out
Yep.
where we can use
Yep.
it, because when we empower each other, we empower our communities, because that's the things
Yep.
that we do. Who running these communities around here? When you see these towns and cities being run, okay, running on these women,
Yep.
these
Yep.
beauticians, these, store
Mm-hmm.
owners, these CEOs, these business owners, is these women. And so when we understand what's inside of us and what God has gifted us with, those are the things that we can get, creative with. We can start saying,
Yep.
I'm confident in what, God has gifted me with.
Yep.
I don't have to compete with my sister.
Right.
We all can do this. We all
Yep.
can, be winners. We all can
Mm-hmm.
get our thing going. We can all stay in our
Yep.
lane and do our thing. And,
Mm-hmm.
there's no competition
Mm-hmm.
or
Yep.
whatever. We all can thrive and get what we need to be getting. Because what God has for me is for me. What
Yep.
God has for you is for you, kind of thing. And so I want to give you an
Yep.
opportunity, Adrian, to also address that question as well. Was there any fear or anything that you had to overcome for yourself to say, you know what, I'm good at this? And if you've been looking at books and stuff, I remember them hair books too from the hair store back in the day.
Yes.
They had all the different hairstyles. I remember those hair books. I used to buy
Yes.
those hair books all the time from the hair store.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been pretty confident in the arena, even without having the teacher. I just always felt that something, that drive, that
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
um that's something like, oh, I just want to sculpt something out of this. I just want to
Yep.
make something out of this. So there was never really any fear. I
Mhm.
really believed that my blessing was in my hands. And it was
Ooh,
because
Yes.
I loved what I was doing. And I
Mm-hmm.
love it's almost like a high. It gave me this rush
Yep.
to,
yeah.
like Tamika was saying, to spin that person around in the mirror, being this little brown skinned girl doing hair at her mom's house, being told, come get this hair out my sink. I'm gonna come get the hair out the sink. I just felt that push when people were like,
Yeah.
yeah, you onto something. So to
Yep.
don't y'all tell everybody, have a clientele before you have a license. I think that's what really groomed
Right.
me and pushed me to just go.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt that. I feel that this is my
Mm-hmm.
lane. And that's what me and Tamika was talking about
Yep.
backstage. When you were saying it's enough for us to eat, we're already talking about
Yep.
collaborating. God
Yeah.
has a way
Mm-hmm.
of connecting his people that we probably don't
Yes.
understand and never seen coming.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
this is definitely in alignment. It is.
Yep.
So I,
Awesome.
I just
Love
always felt that.
it. Do it, Daddy God.
Mhm.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
Okay, so my next question is, how has using your gifts impacted your family or your community? And I know that both of you guys have businesses inside your communities. So and I look, Tamika, I already know that you're impacting community VA. Your services are now hitting the VA. Impacting veteran services and other things of that nature. And I know, Adrian, you're in a community where the VA is as well, in that Georgia area, that's heavily impacted down in that area, the Brunswick area. So tell me, how have your businesses impacted your family and your community? Because I know Easter coming up, so everybody gonna be like, "Hey, can I get my hair done?" So for your
Absolutely.
families and your communities, how have your gifts impacted your communities and your families?
Well, when it comes to family, of course, the family members going to always be your first clients. They're going to
Mhm.
always be your first people to sit in your chair. So it has impacted my family. I try to push them a little bit, not to come as regular, but they come and they get their hair done. As far as like community outreach, I'm always doing some type of give back, always doing some type of community service. The Designers Original Salon is in the schools. We always set the schools up with supplies. Either we're rendering a check or we're buying the supplies and taking them to the school. So
Oh,
anything in my community that I hear about that is accessible to me, I'm always trying to make it my business to show my face. The
oh,
Designers Original Salon needs to be there. There was this crisis over on Epworth by the Sea on the island, and they were looking for a salon owner to style hair. It was about 60 people, and I loaded up my salon and I went over to Epworth by the Sea in this crisis, drug stabilization situation. And I styled over 60 people here for free. It's
oh,
just what I love to do. So I'm always looking for the opportunity to impact my community. Because
Yep.
one thing about beautiful people, once you beautify the outside, that gives you the opportunity to speak into the inside.
oh,
So you
Mm-hmm.
change and impact people just by speaking and doing hair, beautifying them.
love that.
So I
I
love it.
love that. And look, and I'm telling you, and when God said, when you do that to the least of them,
Yes, ma'am.
you've already
Mm-hmm.
done. So God is gonna bless you for being that blessing.
Yes.
So I
Yes,
love that.
Yes.
I love that. I love
ma'am.
that. Ooh, that just gave me chill bumps. I love it. I love it, ladies. So, what kind of legacy are you building through your work? What kind of legacy you want your businesses and the things that you're doing through your work? Oh, I didn't give you an opportunity to answer, Tamika. I forgot. Give you an opportunity to answer about your impact for your community and your family. I'm sorry.
But it's the impact on my family, just like Adrian said, that's where I started from. I started from doing my aunt's hair and my little cousin's hair, and that's where it starts from. My sister hair, so they were the first ones who actually trusted me on their hair. Okay, so
The
that's where,
billboard.
as far as far as family goes, and so they were, where that generated from, but also with family being um my source of encouragement and just helping me to grow my business. So my family was obviously the first ones. And as far as impact on my community, um the cancer centers, for me, from what I'm doing, my line of business, the cancer centers, the churches, just if somebody needs, listen, even they have is a nonprofit here, a young lady who has a nonprofit where what she does is she gives away wigs, but she refurbishes the wigs. So what I do is give her wigs to refurbish, or wigs that maybe I started on that maybe were for display or something like that, and she picks them up and then she gives them. So sometimes people may not be, they may need but cannot afford, or
Oh,
whatever, and she has that service. So I'm able to, in cases where people can't afford it, or whatever the scenario may be, they can get a free one. So even if it's one that they have to take with her, take this one, take to her, she can refurbish it for you for free. So things like that, things that you're doing behind the scenes that people may not see, that has a big impact, that's going to make a difference on people's lives. Because then there are people that know that I do that donate their wigs to give to her nonprofit. So there are a lot of ways that you can impact people, just by doing small things. And I feel like that's where I am as far as impacting my community and things like that. So most people know that, if you need something when it comes to hair loss, they already know in this community where to go to. They already
uh,
they already know.
look,
Yeah.
I probably got a bag that I will bring to you then.
Okay.
Well,
Oh,
with the
Okay.
refurb. So
See how that works?
yes,
See
I
how
would
that
bring
works?
you because
yeah.
I had them in a closet and I'm running out of space. So
Yes.
I've been putting them in a garbage bag and they've been
Mm-hmm.
sitting in the garbage bag. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to just throw them away because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like reusing them. So I'm like, they just sitting in a garbage bag. So I'm like, so
Yeah.
since you said that, I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna
Yeah.
bring them to you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely got a use for that now. So
Mm-hmm.
that's so awesome. So I'm like, yay. When I heard you say that, I was like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Definitely going to do that. So we're talking about legacy because that's important. You know, everything that we do, we want to make sure that sometimes that it has a lasting impression on the things that people remember us by, what we're doing or whatever. So what kind of legacy are you building through your work that you want people to remember Tamika Taylor's work? You want people to remember Adrian Holmes' work?
Adrian, you want to go first?
I the legacy that I want to leave is one of the things that I have always built my business on is prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I've always welcomed the presence of God, whatever area I was in, and poise to always be where you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to be doing, to be prompt, to be on time, to be in place. Those are the things, of course, wealth is amazing. Leave that money for this little 13-year-old girl that I have over here as my daughter to spend later on down the line. But the legacy is making sure that we are accountable, making sure that, like Tamika was saying earlier, instead of just taking your money, let me heal, let me help be part of your healing versus part of your covering. The care aspect of it is it doesn't matter. One of the things that I thrive on as well is if someone walks through my door with $5 and you have a person to walk through it with $5,000,
Mm-hmm.
both of those people are created equal to me. I'm not going to give you anything greater with your 5,000 because I'm going to give, guess what? That person with $5, that $5,000 status. So it's not about the dime, it's not about the money, but it's the time spent with people, the relationships that are built, and just doing and being reputable women and men of God, even behind the chair, even behind the chair. I love that Tamika said that. I can take your money. It's easy. $1,000 a wig. But no, let's fix the problem. Before, instead of trying to cover it, let's care for it. So
Ooh,
that's the legacy.
yes. Love it. Love it. To
Yeah.
me.
Yes, and this is just kind of to piggyback off of what Adrian said. I think the biggest thing is, I think for me the biggest thing is leaving the legacy of my legacy as I want to be remembered as helpful, impactful. Um, now I was explaining to a client on, I think one day we were talking, and I said, going forward, I think 50 plus is the years where I want to number one, what I'm doing, I want to be in love with. I don't want to be infatuated with. I want to be in love with what I'm doing, and I want it to reflect outside my outside. When I say in love with things, I'm even no matter what it is I'm doing, to be in love with it, because it's going to show, it's going to reflect outwardly how you are processing things inwardly. It reflects outwardly. So whatever I'm doing now, I want to make sure that I tell people, I use an example: don't invite me to your house unless you're cooking with love, because I'm not going to eat at your house. And I want it to be the same way where I'm providing a service, that I'm in love with that service and that you feel that love and that you can carry it to someone else, like you said, Shane. So now I can tell someone else about Tamika. That's the type of legacy that I want to live. Even when I'm no longer behind the chair providing the service, people will still remember me for years and years and years to come. I still remember the first lady who ever touched my hair as a little girl. And she has, God rest her soul, been, probably over 20 years have passed away, but I still remember her, and the impact that she had on me, as a little girl, going into her salon. So that's the type of legacy that I want to leave behind. It's not what you're doing now, it's the impact that you have on people when you are no longer doing what it is that you're doing that counts the most, and how people see you, and how they're going to go out and tell the world about you. So you got to be careful at how you present yourself and what you're doing. I think that's where your legacy begins, and how it'll carry on once you are no longer doing whatever it is you're doing, or even no longer here. And so that's it for me.
Look, and I can contest, I can attest to that, because when I first met you and I came to our appointment, and this was just the consult appointment. And so and I came in and I was like, hi. He was like, hi. He was like, you gave me a hug. He was like, I hug. And so we
Yeah,
hugged
I
and
like the hug.
embraced. Yeah, she was like, I'm a hugger. So,
Yeah,
and I was like, I embrace it. I'm a
yeah.
Southerner. So, that's what we do too.
Hmm.
So, and so we
Yeah.
hugged and embraced or whatever. And when I left there or whatever, I was so excited about what we decided to do for my unit. And then when I came back or whatever, I was, just as excited. But knowing that I just felt like I ain't going to nobody else. So to be able to keep her on the list or whatever, because I ain't going to nobody else. And
Hmm.
and so I was like, it's settled with me. This is it for me,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And
Hmm.
so and it was all because of that first impact. And so I just want to,
Hmm.
let people know it's genuine, it's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it was for if it was that for me, I'm pretty sure it's that for people that that
Yeah.
she has touched and and been a part of outside of me, because it was just that way for me.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
so
And
yeah,
yeah, and I know we're on time, but I grew up in where my grandmother raised us to it was never a stranger in my grandmother's house. And that's how
right,
I am. When I meet people, I don't ever want you to feel uncomfortable with me. I don't ever want when I even if you don't, purchase a unit for me or, support the business, I'm still gonna make you feel like you at home. And people come in whenever they come in into, my hair replacement center, the first thing they say is, I feel a sense of peace in here. And
Mm,
that's the way I want you to be. I want you to be
yes.
peaceful. I want you to be comfortable. And I want you to feel like, I'm the big sister or the mom or whatever it is that you need, that I am that person outside of a service that I provide. Because for some people, you don't know how many people I've just hugged and asked them how they was doing and just broke down because nobody else didn't ask them something as simple as, how are you doing? So you don't know how those small simple things can impact people. So you got to be very careful, because you don't know, how impactful you are to people outside of services that you provide. Prayers, hugs, girl, you look
right,
good. Oh, I like your hair. Those things are so important. And I think we sometimes we take those small things for granted, but they are really big to people who may not hear that as often.
right.
So I always try
Absolutely.
to keep that in front of me.
Right. And
Yeah.
I want to go back to Adrian with this, because we touched earlier in the beginning about her other role in
Mhm.
ministry. And one of the things that pulled her and I together when we first met on our encounter on TikTok was her nurturing spirit.
Yeah.
And it was because, God gifts you with those discerning
Mhm.
spirits. And when people who have that nature of, God using them to, to for certain needs, whether it's prayer or, speaking, imparting things into people. And that's what she was doing at that time. And then, and I was just echoing some things with some scriptures, backing her up on some things. And it was just aligning with some things. And so, um, and and just, praying with her in the spirit. So I just wanted her to know that, you know, I know that, you work a lot in that capacity outside of just doing hair or whatever in ministry. I know God is pulling you in different areas in that capacity, because you're discerning so many things and the need of so many people because
Mhm.
of that. So if you want to talk on that as well, because with legacy, with that, God is, God can take you from A to Z sometimes when it comes to ministry with that. And so sometimes it's about hair, and sometimes it ain't
Mhm.
about hair.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
and so if you want to kind of elaborate a little bit on that as well.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. A place of peace.
Mhm.
That's the movement, Tamika. The place of peace.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, like she said, people are just looking for somebody to listen. They
Mhm.
just want somebody to care. You don't
Mhm.
even have to know what they have going on. The
Mhm.
moment that you ask, "How you doing today?"
Mhm.
it automatically breaks something.
Mhm.
And one
Mhm.
of the things that I normally say that I carry in my salon is, at the shampoo bowl, that is the service. Because
Mhm.
during that service, I tell my clients, I say, y'all getting a double portion because not only are you getting a good scrub and a good scalp massage, but you're getting prayer.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And there have been often times to where the Lord has said, Adrian, say, or
Mhm.
Adrian, sing. And I'm
Mhm.
Mm.
like, this is the first time client, God, come on now, not this
Yeah.
one. Come on, the
Uh,
people gonna think I'm crazy. I've been looking them up
mhm.
or something. And I'm like, no. He said, you're gonna say it. So in the midst of just servicing them and loving on them and working on them, I say, can I say something to you? And they're like, sure. Do I know you? And they're like, no. This your first time being here? Yes. I said, well, the Lord says da 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 da. And they just
Mhm.
immediately break. They immediately
Mhm.
break. And I just lay a little towel over their eyes and I just do what it is that God says for me to
Yeah.
do. So believe it or not, Tamika, you are a minister of the gospel
Mm.
because you're
Mhm.
ministering to people's spirits. And,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and Shan is right. One of the things that I stray away from, Tamika, is I don't like for people to say Pastor Holmes. I
Mm.
Mm.
always say a title doesn't matter to me.
Right.
As long as the work is being done, as long as
Mhm.
the people are being serviced, as long as love is the first thing
Mhm.
that people receive from me, that's all
Mhm.
that matters. So
Yep.
I always ease in the room as just Adrian Holmes.
Mhm.
Because as soon as people hear Pastor, they no, no, no. I just want you to be you. I just want you to let me love you.
Yeah.
And my love is through that shampoo,
Yep.
that conditioning, that stimulating scalp massage to get that blood to flow into the surface of that scalp so that we can
Mhm.
promote growth.
Yep.
Okay. So it's everything for me.
Mhm.
I
I don't
love.
take it lightly, but I take those things real serious. I had one lady to come in, and I won't hold you, and
Mhm.
she was a first time client, and actually her daughter brought her in because she was not going to be able to come, and it's a blessing to me when they do that. Listen, I can't come, but I'm gonna send Shan. Listen, I can't come, but I'm gonna send Teresa. Can Teresa have
Uh-huh.
my son? Yes, she can. So it's one of
Mhm.
those things that I just begin to shampoo her and I just begin to feel the presence of God. And as I was shampooing, I said to her, this is your first time being here. And I don't want you to think I'm crazy, but what I will do is obey God in every area of my life.
Mhm.
Do not want to be offensive. So may I say to you what he is saying to me? And she said, yes, ma'am, looking up in the boat. And this is my elder. She's like in her 60s, pushing 70. And I said, the Lord says, what are you waiting for?
Mm.
Go ahead and make the move. She
Mm.
jumped up, water running down
Mm.
her back, and hands up, and she's like, you have no idea that I have been praying about retirement. She
Ooh.
said, my knees are giving
Mm.
me issues. My husband has been telling me to retire. We're going to be fine. But I've been wrestling with that thing. And you telling me that God says, what are you waiting for? Make the decision. She said, I've been waiting on an answer. So this is just what
Mm.
we do. It's just the love that oozes from us as stylists. And I like I say, I
Mhm.
sort of kind of back up on the pastor portion. I'm just a servant. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's awesome
Yeah.
to see deliverance come through just the direction of
Yeah.
air.
Yeah.
Ooh. I love it.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. Love it.
Yeah.
Mm. I'm gonna have to come. I'm gonna have to make a trip to Brunswick, sit in that chair.
Come on,
Mhm.
come on. I'm gonna shampoo you and show you got your install, baby.
You
I
can
got
mom,
you.
mom some stuff up out of there.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I look, I know I told y'all this hour go by so fast. I know we got about 12 minutes, but I got about a couple more questions to ask. But one thing you refuse to quit on.
Mm.
Give me one thing that you just say, this is one thing I just refuse that I'm not gonna ever quit on with myself. So what is that for
Mm.
you, Tika?
Look, you added the myself because I was gonna say I will never quit on myself.
No, that's
Um,
right.
I will never quit on improving who I am. I will
Mm,
never quit on that. So I can say that I will never quit on improving who I am. And that's the only thing that you can do. You can work on being a better you, better day. And so that's something that I'll never compromise or quit on.
awesome.
Improving
I
who
Yeah.
I am. Yeah.
like it. Like it. How about you, Miss Adrienne?
Absolutely the same response. The same. I will never quit on me. I will never quit on honing the craft that God has
Mhm.
placed on the inside of me. And I ain't gonna never quit on God. Yes, ma'am. I
I'm telling.
concur, Tamika. I
That's
concur.
right.
I'm
That's
telling
right.
you. Look, quitters
Mhm.
never win and winners never
That's
quit.
it.
Look, I love that. One thing God, what is that one thing God is stretching you in right now that you know? Like God,
Ooh.
I'm in a place right now, but I know that you stretching me, you pulling me a little bit more to do something and you're stretching me. Is there something God is stretching you right now in a place, or are you in a content place right now?
Well, I'm going to say
Mm.
this, right? So, um, I'm going to, so Lord, this podcast, this time is not long enough. Okay. So I'm going to try to
Yeah.
make it as quick as I possibly can. Okay.
You fine, you fine. We can
Yeah.
go over. It's fine.
Mm.
We I just want you guys get what you need to say out. I want to make sure all of that is taken care of.
Yeah. For me, um, how can I say this? For me, I feel like, so let me share some personal things, okay?
Okay.
I've been diagnosed with cancer twice, 2014, 2022. 2023, my husband was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. Only
Mm.
20% of his bone marrow was healthy, okay? So and I now I don't miss anything. When it comes to God, I don't miss anything. And I said, God, I know my husband, I knew when a doctor gave him that diagnosis and talked over all of his, all the things that needed to be discussed at that time. I knew that my neither one of our lives were ever going to be the same, right? So we have this. At the beginning of this year, I have a binder. Where's my binder? Here is my binder, right? And I said, okay, you guys, this is 2026. And Tamika's going to change how I'm going about with my business, right? And I said, this is my plan. Okay, this is my little plan, but I know God has a bigger plan. And when you start saying, when God has a bigger plan, that means you got to trust God's plan. And it don't look nothing like your plan, right? And there are a lot of days where I know what I have been praying for, but I know, and I may sound all over the place because I'm getting excited, but I know that when you start opening up yourself and when you fully trust God and you give it over to Him, it's not going to look like how your plans look. Cause see, these my plans, right? I got it all figured out, but what I've realized is that God plans look a whole lot different, and the path that He has you on is not going to be like the plan that you have for yourself. So there's going to be some detours, some bumps, some curves, some hills that you feel like you can't go over. But I know that trusting Him is going to get me where I need to go. It just may look different in the road that I have mapped out for myself. And so right now I'm just at a point where I'm just trying to. I'm gonna let you go, Adrian, because I'm about to
No,
get
no,
emotional. So I'm gonna let you
You
go
go.
ahead and go.
No, 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 no. You go ahead.
I
Yes.
am. I am. So go ahead. I mean, or
Yes.
Shane, you go ahead.
Yes. She's
Okay.
she's
You need
at
a
a
minute?
place to where
You
her
need a minute?
plan. But you know what? And Tamika, I'm gonna say this to you, and I love the fact that you said this is my plan, but I know that God's plan is bigger. And
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what he says in Jeremiah 29 and 11. For I know the plan that I have for you, saith the Lord. And it's to prosper you, it's to do you good and not evil. It is to give you that expected end. It's an unexpected, expected end. And so sometimes it can be overwhelming. And one of the things that I can say that I've been saying for myself, God, I don't know where my destiny connection is, but God, make those connections, because I'm always seeking, to do something bigger, something better. And I don't really have the idea. So it's almost like Peter, get on the water, bro, and just walk it. Keep your eyes on him so that you'll
Mm-hmm.
be able to walk the water. Because just as soon as you get the veering off, that's when we begin to sink. So
Right.
that's the exact place, Tamika, that I am in. I have a plan, and there is something that is in order. One of the things that I can remember saying to myself in a Bible study one evening to some others, you know what? God does have a plan, but do you have one? We're waiting on God to
Mm-hmm.
give us a plan, but have we created something to present to Him for Him to work with?
Mm.
So, one of the things that I say, okay, God, this is what Adrian desires. And you do whatever you scribble all over the
Mhm.
paper. Do whatever you want to do
Mhm.
with it. And when I seem like I'm getting
Mhm.
weary or sort of kind of like pull my hair out, panic, God remind me that you were the one with the initial
Mhm.
plan.
Mhm.
And that's where I
Mhm.
am when it comes to, Lord, my what next? And I told my
Mhm.
best friend a couple of weeks ago, and I've been saying this for over a year. If God tell me, Adrian, box your things up and move to
Mhm.
Tennessee. I don't know what's over in Tennessee, but his will is there. The plan that he has for
Mhm.
me, it has to be there. So I'm crazy
Mhm.
enough, but sound-minded enough to believe that you're gonna meet me right where in Tennessee
Mhm.
somewhere. If it's a stranger that says Shan is that way, you know what? Tamika is over there. It's part of the plan.
Mhm.
I am crazy
Mhm.
enough to box it up, tape it
Mhm.
up, and move.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I understand your yeah, Tamika. I
Mhm.
understand your yeah.
Mhm.
I get it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's exactly where
But
I
Mhm.
but
am.
it's
I
good
think,
that you
but
have the binder though, because he do tell us to write the vision and make it plain.
Yes.
You know,
mhm.
and
Mhm.
because he know that you're writing it down, and, he
Mhm,
says, he's giving you an opportunity. He's gonna give you an opportunity to run with it, but he
mhm,
got to
Mhm.
know what
Mhm.
he's coming up with a strategy, because he already know what the end is gonna be like. You know
Mhm.
yes.
how old folks you say, I'm gonna run and see what the end's gonna be like.
Yes.
Mhm.
All we got to do is keep running, keep
Yep.
enduring, so we can see what the end's gonna be like, because he already knows what it's gonna be for
Yep.
us.
Yeah.
You just writing down, these are the desires, God, or whatever. When we write down the vision, he gives the provision. So
Mhm.
he's already making the way. He's
Mhm.
already saying, yep, I, yeah, this is the GPS I'm taking Tamika through.
Mhm.
Yeah, it might be a little bumpy this way. I'm taking it. Oh, that's a detour I'm taking her on, but she's going to get there nevertheless, kind of thing. So,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, that's why we got to trust him. That's why we got to trust him.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
it's okay. You can scribble on them plans, that book. That's why that book is big. And make
Mhm,
all
Mhm.
the edits, provisions you need to make on there or whatever. If he gives you something, make it. You know,
Yep.
that's why I'm always tuning in. I just finished a period of consecration, because God, I need to hear from you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've been waiting on my retirement papers, and people are like, you crazy? You're just 49 years old. Why are you retiring? People are trying to talking me out of it, but I know what I heard from God months ago.
Mhm.
And even though I'm still in limbo waiting on my paperwork or whatever, I'm still trusting God for that. And
Mhm.
we've been DHS haven't been paid since February 13th. I ain't missed a beat,
mhm,
since
mhm,
February
Mhm.
13th. God is still providing. God is still doing what he's supposed to be doing. My youngest is graduating in May or whatever. So I'm still trusting God in it,
yes.
and
Mhm.
created and established two businesses doing this
Mhm.
downtime from DHS. God is
Mhm.
giving me stuff while
Yep.
I'm just not sitting at home twiddling my thumb like, when we going back to work.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm,
establishing a business and then trying to create how I'm gonna turn this podcast into a nonprofit. So it's just
Right.
mhm,
all these things God has given me. And
Yep.
so it's not just a sitting down waiting on when DHS gonna go back to work kind of thing. God is still pouring into me.
Mhm.
And so those are the times we got to really seek him,
Yep.
in those quiet moments and those times where we feel like, okay, we're in a stuck place. No, we ain't in a stuck place. We're in a place where, God, I need to hear from you,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So awesome. So do you need to come back on that, or you good?
No, it's just that, I told you we won't have enough time in this podcast, but it's just like you both have been saying, is about trusting God. And for me, we have all these plans and God has the bigger plan. Um
Mm-hmm.
and so now I'm at a point in my life where I am trusting his plans. And
Mm-hmm.
my plans have gotten me to this point, right? But I know that his plans are much bigger for me, and that they're going to take me places where I couldn't even imagine, even small things. I see the small things that God is doing, because this year in 2026, when I put my folder up, when I got on my the video the content that I put out was that I have these small plans. God has these bigger plans. I niched down my business because I was doing a lot. But it began to be overwhelming. I said, wait a minute now. I know this is not part of the plan, because I've lived that. I don't want to be overwhelmed by it. So I niched down. But part of niching down is you're gonna started losing, where I had income here, that income is no longer there. So I could have kept going. Like I could still be behind a chair. I could be still just making, just regular wigs. I had a website where I had wigs so people could go on, all those things. I said, I got to let some of this stuff go because I'm trying to do too much. And so that was one of the things. And so I'm going back to even the VA thing, Shane. Somebody put my name on the list for DC. I didn't, because with vendors, you reach out to the VA. Somebody put my name on that list. I did not do that. And so when they reached out to me, and I said, well, how did my name? Because when they sent me the very first contract that they sent me, it just came to my email. And I said, this is spam, and I went to overlook it. But then when I opened, I said, wait, this is too much personal information for it to be spam. And so I reached out to the young lady at the VA. She was like, no, I sent it to you and somebody put your name on the list. But fast forward, my name being on the list got me on this podcast because I met you. Right. And I just said like a week, because I'm an introvert. And it's so crazy because people are always asking me to speak at stuff. And I'm like, I can talk to you one-on-one, but I don't like all of that. So just let me be behind the scenes. No. And God was like, and my thing was I talk fast, I get nervous and all these other things. And God was like, well, the people that you're supposed to speak to going to get it anyway. And those who looking for something different, it ain't for them no way. So it seemed like I said, I spoke for a Black History program at church, and I got up and I said, it just seemed like y'all just keep asking me to come to church to speak. And so I guess this is where I'm going to be speaking at. And even though I don't like to be, I'm an introvert, I don't like doing that. But anyway, long story short, that's just God's way of showing me you got this plan, but I got something else much bigger and much greater for you.
Yes.
Yeah. That's past what I'm comfortable with doing, and also just showing me a little bit by a little bit. And he ain't gonna give it all to you, because if he gave it all to me, I'm gonna run off and mess it all up. So he give me a little bit by a little bit to let me know you are going where I'm going. I hear you, and I'm gonna work with you, but you're gonna go this is the way you're going. And so that does sometimes require you, like you said, to be stretched, and also to you have your plans and God hears your prayers, but God knows the ultimate plan for you, and He gonna work it out so that it works the way that He got it drawn out for you. And so that's why I was with that. But yeah, long story short.
Yes. And then we do know that a good man's steps is ordered by the Lord. So so we can plan and do whatever, but God ultimately gonna have His way. Especially when we're children of God, He's gonna ultimately have His way. So my last question to you ladies are, what would you say to women who are afraid to step out? Step out.
Don't be afraid.
What is your what would you say to women who are afraid to step out, saying, hey, I got all this stuff, got all these ideas, I got my big book too, Tamika, what do I need to do to get started, to step out, what I need to do, or I'm scared to talk, or I'm scared to network with people, what I need to do? So what advice would you guys give to women who are afraid to step out? I'll start with you, Adrienne.
Pray and pursue.
Ooh,
Fear is going to keep you in the place of failure, failing to do that thing that you are passionate about. So don't allow fear to grip you. Pray and pursue.
Yeah.
Pray and pursue.
I totally agree. I couldn't say it any better. You gotta go. You gotta move.
Yes.
You gotta move. So you don't know what's gonna happen until you try. You know where you are, so you know what's happening. So you don't know what's gonna you gotta try. You gotta at least give it a try. So that's what I say. I always tell people, know if you ever have a conversation with me and you tell me your plans, I'm gonna be the first to say, you better go. What you waiting for? Just do it. What are you waiting for? You don't know what's gonna happen until you try. So I am that person. Like, I am not afraid. People like, you be trying. Yes, I'll open a t-shirt business. I'll say a place. It doesn't matter. I will try. If I wake up and I feel, I'm not afraid to do what, especially something I'm passionate about. I'm not afraid to do it. Now, I tell people my story as far as going from, I was working a job. My husband and I had just purchased a brand new home. We have 3 kids, a brand new car. And this was before I started doing hair, but I had went to cosmetology school, and you got to build your clientele. I quit my job. I quit my job with 4 clients, and they weren't 4 regular clients. They were 1 a week. Okay. So I quit my job. That's how I started. And so it grew from there. I had the work ethic. I knew what I was passionate about. I would show up to work every day like I had a book full of clients. Okay. And then I learned how to market myself. And so that's how my clientele grew. Not only did I market myself, I tell people, I used to write the handwritten thank you card, send you a birthday gift card for your birthday. I was that hairstylist trying to build my clientele because I want you to know you are important to me. Okay. So it was those things. It wasn't no city, it wasn't no email marketing. It was handwritten. I would hand cards out, go 10 cards in my pocket every day, and I would hand out 10 cards. That was my job. When I didn't have no clients, my job was to go and get clients. And I built my clientele to the point where I could open my own salon, to the point where I could close that salon and open a hair replacement center. So just think, had I not threw my boots in the trash can on my way out the door at that job, where I would have stayed just being comfortable. So if you're passionate about something, you go for what you're passionate about. That's how I feel about that.
I love it. I love it. Oh, wow. Well, look, that's confirmation. Our whole conversation, this entire hour is confirmation to anyone listening today. You don't need more validation. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to use what God has given you and gifted you with and what you already have. Discover your calling, build your business, and impact the world with your purpose. That's, it's your time. It's your time to step out. It's your time to have the faith. It's your time to network, to collaborate, to do the things that these women started out doing their very selves and what they're doing now, and telling you what you can do as well. So ladies, I want to thank you guys for joining me today. I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to say some last remarks before we close out, but I do want to give you guys an opportunity. I want to say thank you for joining us. I don't want this to be the last time that you join Chit Chat Podcast. You guys are welcome back anytime the Chit Chat Podcast is on. We're live on Sundays at 5:00, unless it's a holiday. So next Sunday on Easter we'll be off, but we're live on Sundays at 5:00. So join us anytime on the podcast, whether you're listening or if you want to be a guest on. Anytime, you are welcome to come back to Chit Chat Podcast. But I do want to open the floor to you guys for last minute remarks. So I'll start with you, Adrienne.
Well, thank you for having me, Shan. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. If you're not doing anything, my little spill, Shan already done spilled the beans, Tamika, that I'm a minister of the gospel. And we did meet on TikTok. If anybody would like to reach me, you can reach me on Facebook, The Adrienne Holmes. That is where I sit down every Wednesday and talk about love, life, relationships. On Mondays on my salon page, The Designer's Original Salon, I am, of course, there 30 minutes, maybe 20, 30 minutes on Mondays, just encouraging anybody that would like to get on. I've engrafted TikTok on TikTok under The Adrienne Holmes, as well as on Instagram, Designers Original Salon 31520. So if any one of those platforms you want to get on, come on and join us. Listen, let us continue to love each other and do what it is that we're passionate to do, because I believe that's what God has placed us.
Awesome. And thank you, Mr. Sutton. He said another great show. Yes. And Jada had your posted there. So if you'd like to follow Ms. Holmes, Jada posted the information, and we'll make sure it's posted on our page as well. So Tamika.
Listen, same thing. I appreciate you having me here. I really enjoyed myself. It was great. I hope that I have made an impact on someone who is watching. But I do want to say something that you said in closing that God gave to me yesterday. You just confirmed, and that is, it's your time. You said that, and yesterday I was working, and I had a whole meltdown because God gave me, it's your time. And so I just want to say thank you so much for having me here, and I do appreciate you. And as far as contacting me, my information, I see it's up now, but it's I am Tamika Taylor on TikTok. It's Tamika Taylor all the way across. Facebook, everywhere. It's TOMEKA Taylor. And so if you are a woman watching and you are dealing with thinning hair or hair loss, not only do I provide those services, but I also educate you on how to take care of your hair so that you don't end up in a place where you do have to, rely on some type of non-surgical hair replacement. So it's not about just hair replacement. It's about, hair restoration as well, but most importantly, building, confidence and helping you to feel better about yourself. And so that you don't feel like you're limited to, just having to deal with hair loss, and that you are, if you are watching, if you have hair loss, that you are not alone. There are a lot of women who are dealing with the same issues. And so it is my job and my prayer that I, help as many women as I can, whether it's by giving you sound advice, helping you restore or replace your hair, or getting you to someone who can help you. And so I hope that, if I could just continue to do that, I feel like that's, a blessing all in itself.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you again, ladies. And to our listening audience, if this episode spoke to you, share it with another woman who needs that push, that encouragement, because when we empower women, we empower our communities. Follow us on Chit Chat Podcast and continue this journey with our supporting, empowering, inspiring, and motivating and encouraging women on our platform, because we chat all things women every Sunday live at 5 o'clock on Chit Chat Podcast. That concludes our portion on today's episode. Thank you again, ladies, for joining us. Thank you, Adrian Holmes and Tamika Taylor.
Thank
We
you.
guys in your businesses the absolute best, and happy Women's History Month, and have a very blessed and happy Easter on next Sunday.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys
Right.
next time.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.